The morning rush in Lisbon was no joke. Office workers darted between cafes, tram bells clanged down the hilly roads, and tourists stumbled with oversized maps and undercooked expectations. But none of them ever noticed the girl behind the cart. Her name was Sofia. Not the kind of girl you'd spot in a glossy magazine. Her apron was always dusted in coffee grounds, her curls hidden under a faded cap. Her espresso cart, tucked between a souvenir shop and an alley full of graffiti, wasn't exactly prime real estate. But it was hers. Every morning at precisely 7:12 a.m., she opened her cart. Not 7 o'clock, not 7:15, 7:12. She said it gave the day better luck. Her regulars didn't question it. Most didn't even look her in the eye. They just wanted caffeine, not conversation, except for one guy. His name was Caleb, an American freelance photographer who had wandered into Lisbon 3 years ago and never really left. Tall, always a bit disheveled, and perpetually wearing headphones around his neck, Caleb looked like a man chasing a story he hadn't found yet. He'd come to the cart every morning and order the same thing. Espresso e sorriso, por favor. An espresso and a smile, please. And Sofia always obliged, though at first she thought he was just another foreigner trying too hard. But Caleb was different. He never rushed her. He never checked his phone while she poured. Sometimes he'd just lean against the wall and ask, "How's the world treating you today?" Sofia didn't answer at first, but over time, the silence filled with stories. She told him about her father, who built the cart from scratch before he passed. About her dream of turning it into a cafe one day. About how Lisbon was changing, and she wasn't sure if there was still room for people like her. Caleb listened. Not the kind of listening where someone waits for their turn to speak. The real kind. And then one morning, he asked something unexpected. "Can I take your photo?" Sofia frowned. "Why?" "I think the world needs to see you. It's raw, real, beautiful." She hesitated. "I'm not beautiful." Caleb raised his camera. "You don't have to be. You already are." Click. That one photo. Sofia, mid-laugh, coffee cup in hand, steam rising in soft curls around her face, ended up on Caleb's small blog. He wrote about her. About how people like her keep cities alive, even when no one's looking. He didn't expect anything to come of it, but the post went viral. Suddenly, people started coming to her cart not just for coffee, but for her. Bloggers, influencers, tourists who wanted to feel authentic. Some were kind, others not so much. "You're the Instagram coffee girl, right?" one American teenager asked. "Can I take a TikTok with you?" Sofia smiled politely, but felt something tighten in her chest. Fame, even the small kind, was uncomfortable. Caleb noticed the change. One evening, as the sun sank low over the rooftops, he waited until the last customer left and asked, "Did I mess things up for you?" She didn't speak for a while. Then finally, "I liked it better when it was just us. Quiet, no filters." Caleb nodded. "Me too." A long silence passed. The kind that only exists between people who truly understand each other. Then he said something strange. "I have an offer to shoot in Morocco, 6 weeks. Could be big, but I'm torn." Sofia raised an eyebrow. "Why torn?" He looked at her the way a man looks at a moment he doesn't want to end. "Because Lisbon has better coffee." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. He left 3 days later. She didn't stop him. She didn't cry. But every morning at 7:12, she still opened the cart, just in case he ever walked back around that corner. 6 weeks, 42 days, over 1,000 coffee cups served. Caleb didn't come back. Sofia told herself she didn't care. Told herself it was just a nice chapter, a passing thing. The kind of moment that feels larger than life while it's happening, but fades with time, like old steam off a latte. But every morning at exactly 7:12, she still opened the cart. The fame Caleb had inadvertently brought her hadn't disappeared. More tourists now passed through. Some were genuine, others were just there for the aesthetic. One even asked if she could recreate the photo with them in it. Sophia obliged. She always obliged. She added a second grinder, learned how to make oat milk foam art, smiled more, spoke less. But something inside her felt quieter. Then, on the 43rd morning, he returned. He didn't say anything at first, just leaned against the wall beside her cart, like he never left. The same camera around his neck, but the eyes behind it looked older somehow, like they'd seen something they couldn't quite explain. Sophia kept pouring for another customer, then another. Finally, when the line was gone, she spoke. "You're late," Caleb smiled. "Got lost in Morocco, found a camel that looked like my high school history teacher. Took me days to recover." She almost laughed, almost. "I brought something," he said, placing a small notebook on the counter. She didn't touch it. "What is it?" "Your story. Our story, kind of." Sophia opened it carefully. Inside were sketches, photographs, handwritten notes. Moments Caleb had captured. Of her, of the alley, of small smiles exchanged over steam. One photo was of her looking away, the city blurred behind her. Another showed the chipped wooden cart leg her father had carved with a flower years ago. She looked up. "Why?" "Because everyone's telling stories that look good on screens," he said softly. "I wanted to tell one that felt good in real life." A pause, then, "And I missed you." Sophia didn't answer. Instead, she closed the notebook and placed it in the drawer under the counter. "Same espresso?" she asked. He nodded. "And a smile, please." They started meeting again. Not every day. Some mornings he'd be gone on a shoot. Some evenings she had to fix a busted valve. But it was different now. Deeper. No more pretending it was casual. One night, after closing the cart, they sat on the curb eating leftover pastries. "You know," Caleb said, "this place, it could be more." Sophia looked at him. "More how?" "A real cafe, walls, tables, art, music. A spot for people who want more than coffee, who want connection." She laughed. "You make it sound so simple." He shrugged. "It starts simple, then it grows." She hesitated. "I don't have the money. I barely make rent." "I didn't say it had to happen now," he said. "I'm just saying, maybe we could build it. Together." The word "together" hung in the air like sweet smoke. Sophia didn't answer right away. She looked down at her hands, stained with espresso and work. "People still think I'm just some lucky coffee cart girl," she whispered. "That I only matter because of your blog post." Caleb gently took her hand. "They're wrong." A week later, a woman in a suit stopped by the cart. American, maybe in her 50s, confident, sharp. "I'm here about the girl from the blog," she said. "I run a small investors collective. We fund community-based cafes across Europe. Would you be interested in talking?" Sophia blinked. "Excuse me?" "I read your story. Your espresso changed something in me. I think we can help each other." The meeting was set. Caleb sat with her through the entire pitch. Sophia answered questions, showed her father's original sketches for the cart, talked about the neighborhood, the people, her vision. When it was over, the investor smiled. "We'll be in touch." She left. Sophia turned to Caleb, heart pounding. "What if they actually fund it?" He grinned. "Then I guess we better find a good name." But as the excitement buzzed in the air, Sophia noticed something shift in Caleb's eyes. "What aren't you telling me?" she asked. He looked down, fiddled with his lens cap. "I got an offer, National Geographic, full-time, global projects. First stop is Patagonia." Sophia went quiet. "For how long?" she finally asked. "A year, maybe more." The air grew heavy between them. Caleb took her hand again. "I don't want to leave. But I also don't want you to give this up for me." Sophia stood, brushing crumbs from her apron. "You should go," she said. "But promise me something." "Anything. If this cafe ever opens, promise you'll come back for the first cup." He smiled. Bittersweet. "Only if it's still at 7:12. It was the hardest goodbye of her life. The morning Caleb left Lisbon, Sophia didn't go to the airport. She couldn't. Instead, she opened the cart at 7:12 like always. Same ritual, same smile. But behind her eyes, the silence rang louder than the espresso machine. The investor kept her word. A month later, Sofia received the official offer, a small grant, enough to renovate a modest storefront nearby, hire 2 baristas, and upgrade her father's ancient grinder. The only condition? She had to change the cart into a permanent cafe. Sofia hesitated for days. The cart wasn't just wood and wheels, it was memory. Her father's laugh. The rainy days she and Caleb leaned into each other beneath the tiny roof. But deep down, she knew this was the next chapter. The cafe opened 4 months later. Café 712. The name was her decision, her tribute, her timestamp on a love that had rewritten her life. The first day, she stood at the counter, staring at the empty doorway. She had placed the old cart's flower-carved leg in the corner as a quiet monument. The smell of coffee filled the air. So did expectation. But Caleb didn't come. Not the first day, not the first week, not the first month. He sent postcards from Patagonia, then India, then Japan. His messages were brief but warm. Saw a street vendor today. Made me think of your smile. Met a dog that could have been your cafe's mascot. He liked espresso foam. Still chasing stories. But I think my favorite one is the one we wrote. Sofia kept every card, hung them in a line above the window. Her cafe flourished. Locals came for the coffee but stayed for the atmosphere. Soft jazz, real books on the shelves, and always, always the feeling that you were part of something more than a transaction. You were part of a heartbeat. She trained new baristas to look people in the eyes, to ask how the world was treating them, to listen. Time passed. 1 year. 2. She dated someone briefly, a musician. He was kind, but something was missing. A stillness, a depth, an anchor. Then, on a Thursday in early spring, she saw him, Caleb, standing in the doorway. Same disheveled hair, same camera, same nervous smile. Her hands trembled, but she didn't run. "Am I late?" he asked. She smiled through the lump in her throat. "Only by about 700 mornings." He stepped inside, slowly, as if unsure he was allowed. His eyes scanned the cafe, pausing on the flower-carved cart leg in the corner. "You kept it," he said. "I couldn't let go of everything." He approached the counter, looked at her like no time had passed. Espresso e sorriso, por favor?" She didn't answer, just turned to make the coffee. Her fingers remembered the way without thought. When she placed the cup in front of him, their hands brushed. For a moment, they just stood there, breathing in each other's presence. "I was afraid you'd moved on," he said. "I was afraid you wouldn't come back," she replied. "I didn't want to come back half-formed," he said. "I wanted to return when I knew what I was bringing home." "And did you?" "Yes." "What are you bringing?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small notebook. It was the same one, worn, filled now with pages, photos, drawings, her smile, his journey, their echoes. "I never stopped writing about you," he said. "About this place, about how home isn't always a house. Sometimes it's a person who hands you coffee at 7:12 and changes everything." Sofia couldn't speak. She just nodded and cried. He wiped her tears. "I'm tired of chasing stories," he whispered. "I want to stay, if you'll have me." She took his hand. "I've been saving your seat." They sat by the window that evening, just the two of them. No phones, no filters, no followers. Only the hum of jazz, the smell of roasted beans, the soft clink of ceramic cups, and the comfort of two souls who had finally found their way home. Outside, the sign read, "Café 712, where love is always on time."